The Baobabs, also known as kamatata, are a symbol of the north. You follow the N1 north, past Lustrichard, and drive down the lush Soutpanberger mountain range. And then you drive through the tunnel, through the Williespoort Pass. On the other side, you pass the street vendors selling watermelons, avocados, and all manner of fruit, depending on the season. Even further up north, over a hill, you see it, a grove of ancient baobabs towering over the valley. Such an eternal tree inevitably becomes a landmark wherever they grow. Due to their slow growth, long life, and climate change concerns, it has become illegal to remove or move any baobabs. Lots of animals visit these baobabs, specifically the baobab at the center of the lodge near the pool. The buffalo weavers make messy nests out of thorn branches in its crown, and the red-headed weavers hang their basket nests weaved from grasses in its branches. Outside the lodge, there is another massive kumatat named Homegrown. It got its name after our local supermarket Spar asked to photograph it for their brand. The reason being they loved the way it looked during the sunsets. A snake eagle often loves to sit at the top of it, since the baobabs do tower over everything else in the bush. In addition to Homegrown's beauty and the eagle regular, a beehive lives in one of its hollows. I have no idea how large the beehive is now, and I am smart enough to know better than to go and see for myself. When I was a child, I had an African beehive set up shop outside my window. This was really exciting for me as a child because I loved watching them. After a while, the beehive got pretty large and pretty dangerous as a result. My father and the garden staff then decided to kill it. It made me sad at the time, but I understood why they did that. My father is allergic to bees after all, and that many bee stings could kill a person. On my way to my mother's church, there is an ancient unnamed kamatart, with a road built around it. Judging by its size, this kamatart has stood there since the founding of the town in 1968, only to be inconvenienced later by having a road built around it. The road is seldomly used in the first place due to the growth of the baobab, which does beg the question, why build a road around it in the first place? Regardless, the answer has been lost to time. In this baobab, there is also a beehive. The fact that the beehive hasn't been removed yet is likely due to its guardian keeping the road untraveled and dilapidated, which I'm thankful for. I hope the road stays this way, so the bees can continue living their lives. Another common tenant of baobabs are small birds and lizards, and these attract predators such as owls. I'm quite fond of owls. I find them to be majestic creatures. But the rest of the people in Limpopo would disagree greatly. As a child, I always wanted an owl as a pet. And one morning, when I was around grade 9, my father brought this fledgling owl to my room. He had fallen out of his nest during a storm and almost fell into the pool. I was ecstatic. I named him Hooter. Our domestic worker was deathly afraid of him, and she told me that he was evil because owls are used in black magic. I never knew about this local folklore. My culture also mentions owls, but it's also negatively. I heard my grandma once mention her friend calling her in a panic. She was afraid because there was an owl hooting on top of her roof late at night. I learned this usually means someone elderly will die soon. At first, I was afraid of feeding Hooter by hand because he would puff up and make a snapping noise with his beak, which was sharp and hooked. He wasn't a tiny owl either, so I fed him with kitchen tongs. Over time, our domestic worker warmed up to him a little. She reasoned that since Hooter was a baby, he was innocent. I didn't have him for long, since I came to the realization that owls were never meant to be pets. They're wild, and they should stay that way. Not long after that realization, we found his family and released him back to them. I formed a similar fondness for snakes. As a kid, I was told that snakes were evil creatures, cursed for their sin in the Garden of Eden, and the only good snake was a dead snake. I never believed that snakes were evil, but I understood that they were dangerous. Before I was born, my father had a Jack Russell named Dogs. He was quite the proficient killer, having once killed all my mother's chickens. But he is most heroically remembered for killing a snake. When my sister was young, she was walking in the garden and walked into striking range of a black mamba. Dogs attacked the black mamba and ended up killing it, saving my sister's life. He, however, unfortunately, lost his life to the venom afterwards. I don't remember exactly why I stopped calling someone to kill venomous snakes for me, but one day I just decided to save them instead. It was a very hot day, 40 degrees plus, and I was on my way to my mother's office when I heard and saw a commotion among the lodge staff. A commotion you only hear when there's a snake. It was in room 2, and they had already called someone to come and kill it. I didn't want it to be killed because it was innocent. It was a scorching day, so that's why the snake hid in the room, because it was cool. So I decided to save it myself. I placed a basket I found in the bathroom on the floor and used the back of a broom to annoy the snake till it slithered into the basket. I then covered the basket with a towel and carried it to a shady place and released it. My mother was furious. She told me never to do it again. But after I also saved an African rock python, she sent me to do a snake handling course. They now relocate the snakes instead of killing them, just so I don't save them myself. Because I'll do it again. I've realized I have a love for animals that are misunderstood or demonized. I believe that maybe because I feel a kinship with them. The owl never did anything wrong. They're only guilty of having an eerie screech at night. The snake, similarly, is only guilty of being venomous to catch its own prey. Their expensive venom is not intended for humans unless threatened. My hometown is ruled by superstition and tradition. Exceptions are begrudgingly tolerated, but not welcomed. Besides my family, I was never really accepted in my community at the church. Autism, after all, is only an excuse to get extra perks in exams and avoid punishment for being fussy. I never noticed this alienation as a kid, but as a teen, I felt it. For 18 years, I was dragged to that church, and I attended the Sunday school almost every week. It was the highlight of my weekend, if I was able to miss it. I was always a friendly and kind kid. My only crime was being tomboyish and unladylike at the time. I was a normal kid, just with an intense interest in nature. I did not deserve their disdain. And my disdain has never been with the faith. The faith has good teachings. My disdain is with the people perverting its teachings and disregarding it. Despite the rejection, I still love the area. And that is because of the nature. I always have. Ever since I was a little girl, carrying big mapani moths on my shirt, while I was walking home barefoot. I still walk barefoot, and my city friends find it strange, but I feel more connected to the earth this way. I can feel exactly how stable a surface is with my feet, something I can't feel with shoes. It is my hope and wish that Messina will always remain a place where I can stroll barefoot under the Baobab trees and admire the majesty of Mother Nature.